Hey everybody, what did you think about that? It's pretty amazing, right? This idea that space and time are woven into a fabric. Things of large mass make a dent in the fabric. Things of small mass are pulled towards them. And then it also explained why planets move in an elliptical fashion, if you shoot a marble into that fabric, that's how it'll move. It moves not in a circle, but in an ellipsis. Maybe you've seen, there are simulations of things like this at science museums. Maybe you've seen somewhere a simulation when you put a pendulum in, it doesn't swing in a circle, it swings in an ellipse. Keep your eyes open for that if you haven't seen it yet. In the world around you, it happens all the time. And it's kind of incredible, if you ask me at least. Okay, so we have two more things to do today. I found a really cool simulation that I would like you to play with. It's going to probably take a little bit of loading in the computer that you're using. iPhones might be a little quicker. So you'll use them, or phones in general. I'm going to show you where it is in our Google Classroom. You'll use the Google Classroom link to get to the simulation. And I want you to spend at least a very minimum of 10 minutes playing with that simulation. And then there's a question for you to answer as well. Speaking of questions, if you have questions about the video that you just watched, or when the simulation happens, if you have questions about that, write me those questions in the comment section of Google Classroom, and I will respond to you before class, your next class period. So I'll get back to you, I'll write you answers or send you an email before the next class period so that your questions get answered. So go ahead and write if you have comments, if you just think it's cool, if you think it's amazing or beautiful, or if you want to understand something better. Send me a question, write the question in Google Comments. Students, you can also respond to other people's questions. So you're welcome to also have a dialogue going using that comment section, and I will respond to you as well. Okay, I'm going to screen share with you. I'm going to walk through loading the simulation with you so that you know how to do it. I'm going to show you how to do it. So we're going to screen share for about a minute or two here, and then I'm going to let you do it on your own. I'm also going to show you where to find that last game, and you're going to do that on your own as well. All right, let's go. Here we are, Google Classroom. Okay, so here is the link. There's no picture, but the link to the simulation. It's called testtubegames.com gravity. And here's what I've asked you to do. So I'm asking you to use the link to visit the simulation. You may need to turn on JavaScript. Your computer might ask you to turn something on. That's fine. Once the simulation is loaded, press the build button. I'm going to show you how that works. It'll take a few minutes to load from that point. Now you can add stars, planets, cosmic dust, etc. to your universe and see what effects those planetary bodies have on one another based on their mass and how gravitation works in space. After you've played with it, and like I said, play with it for a good 10 minutes. Give yourself a little time. Write 2 to 4 sentences about what you observe. If that feels like a bit broad to you, I've given you a little bit of hint. Tell me what you see. What effects do the bodies with larger mass have on the bodies with smaller mass? Or tell me what this has to do with gravity. You don't have to answer those questions, but if you're not quite sure how to talk about your observations, those should be some helpful questions for you. So we're going to follow. I'm going to click on the link. You're going to see me do it. It's going to open up this page. Now, I've already opened up the game once before, so it's going straight into it. Like I said, it might ask you if it's okay to run JavaScript. Just go ahead and say yes for that. Once it has loaded, it's going to look like this. It actually takes a minute or two to load. I'm just skipping to where I've already loaded it up. And I want you to push this build. Now you see this screen. Yours won't have a graph on it like this. Go ahead here in the corner. Let me show you again. In the corner, there was a button that looked like a wheel. You're going to push that, and then you get some things that you can mess with. I want you to at least turn on the grid lines because that'll be helpful. So you can change the size of your planets. You can change their color if you want. You can change the length of the orbits that you'll be seeing or the orbit color. You can do some real funky playing with the math here in this physics settings. The force of gravity, we haven't talked about this formula today because you won't be tested on it. You don't need to know it. But the force of gravity, Newton came up with a part of, and someone else added to it later, a formula to say how gravity, what the force of gravity is. So the force of gravity equals this universal, this G star is this universal principle of gravity, times the mass of one object and the mass of a second object over the distance between those objects squared. And if you want, you can play with that in here. You can change those things around to see how it affects your planets. You can play with time. You can see how all of this will work on Earth time if it were happening in the universe. You can see some instructions if you get a little lost. All right, I'm going to close that up. Now that you've seen that, this is the main area of what you're going to play with. So you can add, this is a star. Now I've got a star in my cursor and put my star right there. And now I'm going to take and add a planet that's going to orbit and place it over here. It's going to start orbiting around my star. It's going behind it. Do you see how the sun pulled slightly towards that? And now it's going to orbit back around the other side. Now I can add a second planet. And let's see how those planets interact with one another. So having that planet here changes the orbit of this one because it pulls slightly towards the other one. So you can add all the planets you want. You can also add a comet to see how a comet would change things. It's going to throw everything really out of whack because I put it real close to the sun. Or you could add some cosmic dust to see what happens when you throw in some cosmic dust. Isn't that cool? So spend a little bit of time playing with this. I'm going to stop showing it to you now, but I want you to spend some time playing with this. If you get confused, there's the settings in the right-hand corner. You can get instructions here under these question marks. And then remember, you're answering a question about what you saw right over here. Write 2 to 4 sentences about what you observe. The very last thing for you to do today is a game that I have for you to play. So I'm going to load up this game and show you where it is. It actually goes to a bunch of different games. I want you to play the one called Orbits. Here's Orbits. And this is here it will show you how to play, what to do. It's easiest with the mouse, but you can also play it with your keyboard. And now what you have here is you have a body in space. You're trying to, let's see where to go. You're trying to get your little ball, your planet there, to orbit the one that exists. So you're going to have, you have a little orange ball in the beginning, and you're going to fling it in an attempt to get it to orbit the mass that you have there. Watch how, and see how orbits work. And you can keep playing. It goes up to level 10, I think. I played up to level 7 last night. You can play this for as much as you want. All right, I'm going to stop screen sharing with you. Please watch or play with that simulation, answer the question, and feel free to play this game. Play it at least for a minute or two. If you don't enjoy it, you don't need to play it longer than that. If it's fun for you, keep playing. Let me know how far up in those levels you got and what you thought about it. All right, everyone. I will see you back here your last day of class. I'll have an assessment ready for you. And at the end of class today, I'm going to put up another sheet of things that you should know in order to do well on that test. So basically a little study sheet giving you I'll list all the things that you will be tested on for that final test. So you have something to prepare with. And then on Friday, we'll just take the test together and you will have earned your unit in Physics 101. Well done, everyone. I'll see you on Friday.